The day the massive Voldarian cruiser limped into Earth's orbital repair dock was the day everything changed for humanity among the stars. Jack Reynolds wiped grease from his hands as he watched the alien vessel through the station's observation window. The ship's hull gleamed with a blue-green iridescence despite the obvious damage to its port side. 3 massive engine pods sputtered and sparked while a 4th remained completely dark. "They say 3 repair stations already turned them away," said Tom, Jack's assistant. "Called it a lost cause." Jack squinted at the damaged ship. He was just a simple mechanic who'd grown up fixing farm equipment in the American Midwest before joining the space program. Nothing in his training had prepared him for alien technology, but something about mechanical systems just made sense to him. "Well, let's take a look before we make that call," Jack said. When the Voldarian captain emerged from the ship, his translucent tentacles rippling with obvious distress patterns, Jack was already studying the cruiser's schematics on his tablet. "Our engineers estimate repair costs exceeding the ship's value," the Voldarian's translator device buzzed. "We seek only enough functionality to reach the nearest Voldarian outpost." Jack circled the massive engine assembly, his eyes tracking power conduits and noticing unusual wear patterns. "Mind if I pop inside for a closer look?" The alien captain's skin shifted to a doubtful purple, but gestured permission with 3 of his upper appendages. Inside the engine room, Jack found technology unlike anything he'd seen before. While other humans might have been intimidated, he saw past the unfamiliar designs to the basic principles underneath. Engines needed fuel, needed controlled combustion, needed to channel energy. The forms might be different, but the functions were universal. After 2 hours of exploration, Jack emerged with grease-stained clothes and a confident smile. "I can fix it," he said simply. The Voldarian's skin rippled with disbelief. 3 Genori master engineers deemed it beyond repair. "With respect to the Genori, they overthink things," Jack replied. "Your primary problem isn't the damaged engine pod. It's that your power distribution system is trying to compensate incorrectly. The safety protocols are fighting each other." For 3 days, Jack and his small team worked. They bypassed damaged sections, rerouted power conduits, and fabricated replacement parts that weren't exactly to original specifications but would do the job. Where they couldn't match alien technology, they improvised with human equivalents modified to interface with the Voldarian systems. On the 4th day, the cruiser's engines hummed to life. All 4 of them. The Voldarian captain's skin shifted through colors of amazement as he conducted a system check. This is impossible. You've not only repaired the damage but increased our efficiency by 7%. Jack shrugged. Your power cycling was overly cautious. Made a few tweaks while I was in there. News traveled quickly through the stars. Within weeks, another damaged alien vessel appeared at Earth's repair station. Then another. Soon, ships were traveling far out of their way to seek human assistance. 6 months later, Jack secured a loan to establish Reynolds Repair Station at the edge of human space. It was nothing fancy, just a modified asteroid with docking clamps and a warehouse full of salvaged parts from a dozen different species. The first few months were slow, but Reynolds Repair Station gained a reputation for taking on jobs others wouldn't touch. Jack hired more mechanics with his particular talent for improvisation. They weren't the most educated or the most experienced with alien tech, but they shared his ability to see beyond the unfamiliar to the universal principles of how things worked. 1 year after opening, Reynolds Station had a waiting list. Alien ships would drift in damaged and depart, not just repaired but improved, their captains spreading word of the strange humans who could fix anything. Humans' greatest strength wasn't advanced technology. It was their unmatched ability to understand, adapt, and improve upon the technology of others. Admiral Thrix of the Galactic Alliance stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Indomitable, watching the main screen with growing concern. The ship's warp drive had been faltering for the past 3 days. Now it had failed completely, leaving them stranded at the edge of human space. "Options, Engineer Kell?" he asked, His forearms crossed tightly against his armored chest. The chief engineer's eye stalks drooped. "The quantum resonance chamber has destabilized, Admiral. We need a specialized facility to repair it. The nearest Alliance repair station is 17 days away at our current sublight speed." 17 days. Thrix's skin darkened with frustration. There must be alternatives. Lieutenant Moore cleared her throat. "There is a human repair station 6 hours from our position, sir. Reynolds Station." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew of the humans' growing reputation, but entrusting the Alliance flagship to primitive apes, unthinkable. "Absolutely not," Engineer Kell said. "Human technology is centuries behind ours. They couldn't possibly understand our warp systems." Admiral Thrix studied the star chart. The diplomatic mission to the Arcturian Conclave couldn't wait 17 days. His career depended on this mission's success. "Plot a course for the human station," he ordered. 6 hours later, the massive Alliance warship docked at Reynolds Station. Jack Reynolds himself met the Admiral at the airlock, looking utterly unimpressed by the 7-foot alien commander and his elite guard. "Welcome to Reynolds Station," Jack said, extending his hand in greeting. "Heard you've got warp trouble." Admiral Thrix reluctantly touched the human's hand in the customary greeting. "Our quantum resonance chamber has destabilized. We require temporary repairs to reach an Alliance facility." Jack scratched his chin. "Mind if my team takes a look? We've worked on similar systems before." Engineer Kell bristled. "Similar? This is advanced Proximan technology. There's nothing similar in human space." "Maybe not," Jack shrugged, "but physics works the same everywhere. The quantum resonance chamber is just managing energy at the subatomic level, not so different from the particle accelerators we've been building for centuries." Despite Kell's protests, Admiral Thrix granted the humans access. The Alliance needed this ship operational quickly, and the human facility was their only option. Inside the warp drive chamber, Jack and his team worked methodically. They didn't understand every component, but they recognized patterns in the energy flow and identified where the system had fallen out of alignment. "Your resonance chamber isn't the real problem," Jack told Kell after 12 hours of examination. "It's the calibration system. The quantum matrix is receiving conflicting signals from your navigation computers." Kell's eye stalks quivered with disbelief. "That's impossible. Our navigation systems have triple redundancy." "Exactly," Jack said. "You've got 3 systems trying to make microscopic adjustments simultaneously. They're creating interference patterns." For the next 3 days, Jack's team worked alongside the increasingly amazed Alliance engineers. The humans didn't just repair the warp drive, they'd redesigned the calibration protocols, creating a system that allowed the triple redundancy to work in harmony rather than competition. When they fired up the warp drive for testing, Engineer Kell stared at his readings in disbelief. "This can't be right," he muttered. "Efficiency is up 15% across all power bands." Jack grinned. "We streamlined your power cycling sequence. Your system was spending too much energy checking its own work." Admiral Thrix couldn't hide his amazement when the Indomitable departed Reynolds Station. Not only had the humans repaired a system they'd never encountered before, but they'd improved it beyond the original Alliance specifications. Within a month, word of the Indomitable's upgrade spread throughout Alliance space. Reynolds Station's communication system couldn't keep up with incoming requests. Ships began diverting hundreds of light years from their planned routes to visit the human facility. 3 months later, Jack expanded operations, opening 2 more stations and training dozens of new mechanics. The humans weren't just fixing things anymore. They were becoming known as the galaxy's premier upgrade specialists. When Admiral Thrix delivered his report to Alliance Command, he included one memorable line. "These humans don't just fix what's broken. They see possibilities we never imagined." The Galactic Council's observation chamber buzzed with quiet conversation. 7 representatives from the most advanced civilizations in known space watched through one-way glass as Jack and his team worked on a damaged high-fish quantum drive. "Fascinating," murmured Representative Zoll, her crystalline body reflecting the light as she leaned forward. They're using tools meant for completely different systems. The humans below were indeed working in ways that confused the alien observers. Instead of methodically following established repair protocols, they seemed to jump between tasks, try different approaches, and frequently pause to debate options loudly with each other. "This is chaos," grumbled Representative Drex, the insectoid engineer from the Proxima Coalition. "No proper sequence, no adherence to established principles. It's a miracle they don't blow themselves up." Professor Lin, the eldest of the observers and respected xenobiologist, tapped her data pad thoughtfully. "And yet, they consistently succeed where our own specialists fail. The question is why?" Below them, Jack was holding what appeared to be a cooking utensil from Earth up to a damaged power coupling. "Look at this," Professor Lin said, pointing. "He's adapting a simple food preparation tool to measure quantum fluctuations. The tool wasn't designed for this purpose at all." "Primitive improvisation," scoffed Drex. "Or brilliant adaptation," countered Lin. "I believe we're witnessing the key to humanity's unexpected skill." For the next 3 days, the Council observation team studied the humans at work. They watched as the repair team solved problems that would have required specialized equipment in most alien workshops by creating their own tools from whatever was available. On the 4th day, Professor Lin called the observers together to present her findings. "Most spacefaring species," she began, activating a holographic display, "evolved with specialized thinking. The Proxima developed sequential problem-solving. The hive-fish excel at collective computation. The crystalline confederation specializes in pattern recognition." She swept her hand, changing the display to show human brain scans. Humans, however, evolved as adaptable generalists. Their neural pathways allow them to draw connections between seemingly unrelated concepts. Where we see distinct categories, they see potential relationships. "Are you suggesting their primitive development is an advantage?" asked Drex incredulously. "Precisely," Lin said. "Our species developed specialized approaches to technology because we had thousands of years to refine our methods. Humans compressed their technological development into a few centuries. They didn't have time to develop specialized thinking. They had to adapt and improvise at every stage." Below them, the human team had successfully repaired the quantum drive and was now running tests. The hive-fish captain's bioluminescent communication patches were flashing in patterns that indicated extreme satisfaction. "Observe how they work," continued Lin. "Where our engineers follow established protocols, humans ask, 'What if we try this instead?' While we seek to understand technology completely before attempting repairs, humans are comfortable working with partial understanding." Representative Zoll's crystalline form shimmered with realization. "They don't need to fully understand how something works to fix it." "Exactly," said Lin. "They identify patterns, make educated guesses, test their theories, and adjust based on results. It's inefficient and sometimes dangerous, but remarkably effective with unfamiliar technology." The observers watched as Jack explained something to the hive-fish captain, pointing to several modifications his team had made. The captain's communication patches flashed with disbelief, then excitement. "What's happening?" asked Representative Drex. Professor Lin checked the translation feed. "The humans didn't just repair the drive. They've apparently increased its efficiency by redirecting waste energy through a bypass system of their own design." "But they couldn't possibly understand hive-fish quantum principles," protested Drex. "They don't need to," said Lin. "They understand energy flow, efficiency, and mechanical relationships. The specific technology is almost irrelevant to them." As the council members watched the hive-fish ship depart, Professor Lin made her final observation. "Humanity's greatest asset isn't their technology, it's their flexible thinking. Where we see distinct, specialized systems, they see universal principles that connect everything. And that makes them uniquely qualified to work on technology from any species in the galaxy." The emergency alert blared through Reynolds Station at 300 hours. Jack stumbled from his quarters, rubbing sleep from his eyes as he made his way to the control room. "What's happening?" he asked as he entered. Marcus, his night shift supervisor, pointed to the main screen. "Diplomatic vessel just dropped out of warp. They're broadcasting urgent distress signals in 12 different languages." The screen showed an elegant ship unlike any Jack had seen before. Its hull featured intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as he watched. "That's an archivist's diplomatic carrier," said Lena, their xenolinguistics specialist. "They mediate between major galactic powers. If they're in trouble, it's serious." Within minutes, the diplomatic vessel docked. 3 beings emerged, 2 tall, willowy aliens with luminescent skin, flanking a smaller figure encased in what looked like a floating life support system. "I am First Diplomat Elon," said one of the tall aliens. "We have a catastrophic emergency. Our universal translator matrix has suffered complete failure." Jack frowned. Universal translator technology was among the most advanced and closely guarded in the galaxy. The archivists were its sole creators and maintainers, using principles that bordered on the mystical to most other species. The Sovrux and Talon delegations were in final peace negotiations when the translator failed. Elon continued urgently. "Without it, communication is impossible. If we cannot restore translations within 18 hours, the peace talks will collapse and war will resume." "Can't you take them to an archivist facility?" Marcus asked. "The nearest is 4 days away. By then, the war will have already reignited." Jack rubbed his chin. "Let's see this translator." They were led to a chamber at the heart of the diplomatic vessel. There, on a pedestal, sat what looked like a crystalline sphere filled with swirling, multicolored mist. Half of the sphere was dark and lifeless. "The quantum linguistics matrix has collapsed," Elon explained. "Even our engineers cannot repair it remotely. That's why we came to you. Your reputation for fixing the unfixable has spread throughout the galaxy." Marcus whistled low. "Jack, this is way beyond us. This isn't mechanical or electrical. It's quantum linguistics. We don't even understand the basic principles." Jack circled the device slowly. "Maybe we don't need to understand it completely. What exactly does it do?" "It creates a field where different linguistic concepts align across species boundaries," Elon said. "Without understanding another's language, one can still comprehend meaning." Jack nodded. "So it's a translator. Input goes in, something happens in the middle, output comes out." He pointed to various parts of the device. "This part receives language, this part processes it, this part broadcasts the translation." For the next 6 hours, Jack and Marcus carefully observed the device. They didn't try to understand the quantum linguistics. Instead, they traced power flows, watched how information moved through the system, and identified which parts were working and which weren't. "The processing core is functioning," Jack finally concluded. "It's the input-output pathway that's damaged. We need to create a bypass." "A bypass?" Elon looked horrified. "This technology took the archivists centuries to perfect." "And it's very impressive," Jack said. "But at its core, it's just moving information from one place to another." Over the next 10 hours, Jack and his team worked feverishly, building a bypass system using components from human communication devices, parts from an old Earth radio, and surprisingly, elements from a standard kitchen food processor. The sonic harmonizer in the food processor vibrates at frequencies similar to those in your input array, Jack explained when Elon questioned his choices. "We just needed to modify it to handle linguistic data rather than food textures." When they finally activated the system, everyone held their breath. The dark half of the sphere flickered, then gradually filled with swirling mist again. Elon conducted a test, speaking to the encased diplomat in the archivist language. The beam responded, and Elon's luminescent skin flashed with relief. "It works," he exclaimed. "Not perfectly. There's some loss of nuance. But it's functioning well enough for the peace talks." Jack shrugged. "We couldn't fix it the way you would, so we created a workaround. Sometimes that's better than a perfect repair." As the grateful diplomats departed, Marcus turned to Jack. Did you actually understand how that quantum linguistics stuff worked? Not a bit, Jack admitted with a grin. But I didn't need to. I just needed to understand what it was trying to do. The classroom aboard Reynolds Station hummed with a strange tension. On one side sat 12 of the galaxy's most brilliant alien engineers. On the other, 10 human mechanics from various backgrounds. Between them stood Jack, uncomfortably aware of the cultural divide he was supposed to bridge. "Welcome to the first official Galactic Alliance Education Exchange," he began. "You're here because the Alliance Council believes we can learn from each other." Engineer Drawn, a six-limbed Telosian with metallic blue skin, raised one of his upper appendages. "With respect, I fail to understand what we might learn from humans. Your species has barely achieved interstellar travel." Jack nodded. "That's fair. We're not here to teach you advanced physics or quantum mechanics. We're here to show you how we approach problems." For the first week, the exchange proceeded awkwardly. The alien engineers watched in confusion as humans tackled repair challenges through what appeared to be random tinkering. Meanwhile, the humans struggled to follow the aliens' complex theoretical explanations. "This isn't working," Drawn complained after watching Marcus fix a power converter by hitting it with a wrench. "There's no methodology here. No theoretical foundation." Jack leaned against a workbench. "That's because we approach problems differently. You start with theory and work toward application. We often work backward. We see what's wrong and fix it, understanding the theory later." "That's completely backward," Drawn said. "Maybe. But sometimes it works better. Let me show you." Jack set up a practical challenge. A deliberately damaged quantum field stabilizer. A device used in most modern ships, but based on principles humans didn't fully understand. "The stabilizer is malfunctioning," Jack explained. "Let's see how each group approaches the repair." The alien engineers immediately began analyzing the quantum field equations, calculating resonance patterns, and building theoretical models of the malfunction. 2 hours later, they were still debating the precise nature of the field collapse. Meanwhile, Jack and Marcus simply opened the device, examined the components, and started testing different parts. "These field generators are vibrating out of sync," Marcus noted, placing his hand near them. "You can feel the harmonics fighting each other." "Good catch," Jack replied. "Let's recalibrate them manually rather than using the automated system." Within 40 minutes, the humans had the stabilizer running again. The alien engineers stared in disbelief. "How?" Drawn demanded. "You skipped the entire diagnostic protocol." Jack smiled. "We didn't need it." Marcus could feel the disharmony in the field generators. Sometimes your senses tell you more than your instruments. Over the following weeks, the exchange program evolved. The aliens began to recognize the value in human intuition and hands-on experimentation, while the humans gained appreciation for theoretical understanding. The breakthrough came when Drawn found himself alone in the workshop with a malfunctioning gravity modulator. Following protocol would require special diagnostic equipment that wasn't available. After hesitating, he approached the problem the human way, observing, touching, listening to the device. When Jack entered an hour later, he found Drawn surrounded by dismantled components, tracing power pathways with his fingers. "The oscillation coupler is misaligned," Drawn said without looking up. "I can feel the energy bleeding off." Jack smiled. "Congratulations, you're thinking like a human mechanic." "It's strangely liberating," Drawn admitted. "All my training says to follow established procedures, but sometimes you can just sense what's wrong." By the program's end, both groups had transformed. The alien engineers had learned to trust their instincts and physical senses alongside their theoretical knowledge. The humans had absorbed new technical concepts that improved their understanding of alien technology. At the closing ceremony, Engineer Drawn addressed the group. "I came here believing humans were primitive technicians who succeeded through luck. I was wrong. Your species has something unique, the ability to connect intuition and logic theory and practice. You don't just know how things work, you feel it. As the first exchange students departed, applications flooded in from across the galaxy for the next session. The Galactic Alliance upgraded the program from a curiosity to a high-priority initiative. "We're not teaching them human technology," Jack explained to a reporter. "We're teaching them the human approach, the willingness to try, fail, and try something different. Sometimes the most advanced skill isn't knowing the answer, but being comfortable not knowing and figuring it out anyway." The emergency transmission came during Reynolds Station's night cycle. Jack was woken by the station's AI, his private quarters lighting up gently as the message played. "This is Governor Xen of Kelva Colony. Our atmospheric regulators are failing. 3 engineering teams have tried repairs without success. If the system fails completely, our atmosphere will become toxic within 12 days. 20,000 colonists will die." Jack sat up, rubbing his eyes. "Kelva, where is that?" The AI displayed a star map. Kelva was a mining planet nearly 2 weeks away at maximum warp, a colony established around ancient technology left by a long-extinct civilization. "Their tech is from the ancestors," the AI explained. "Predates modern galactic civilization by roughly 50,000 years. Jack frowned. Ancient technology was notoriously difficult to repair. The principles behind it were often lost to time and incompatible with modern systems. "Get me more details on the atmospheric system," he said, already climbing out of bed. By morning, Jack had assembled a team. Marcus, Lena, and 5 other mechanics stood in the hangar bay, surrounded by crates of parts and tools. "This is probably impossible," Jack told them honestly. "We're talking about 50,000-year-old technology we've never seen before. 3 alien engineering teams already failed." Marcus grinned. "So, just another Tuesday then." The journey to Kelva took 11 days, even with their fastest transport. They arrived to find a world in panic. The sky had taken on a yellowish tinge, and citizens wore breathing masks outdoors. Governor Xen met them at the spaceport, a tall, slender being with iridescent scales and 4 arms. "The situation has worsened," he said without preamble. "Atmospheric toxicity is accelerating. We have perhaps 6 days remaining." "Take us to the regulatory complex," Jack replied. The ancient facility stood in stark contrast to the modern colony around it. A massive dome of unknown metal, its surface covered in swirling patterns that seemed to move when viewed from the corner of one's eye. Inside, Jack's team found 3 groups of alien engineers still working frantically. The central chamber housed a towering structure of crystalline spires that pulsed with dim blue light. Surrounding it were hundreds of control panels with unfamiliar symbols. The chief alien engineer, a Proximan named Vex, approached them with obvious skepticism. "These systems were built by the ancestors. We've been studying similar technology for centuries and barely understand it. What do you expect to accomplish in 6 days?" Jack studied the central structure. "We're not going to try to understand it. We're going to fix it." For 2 days, Jack's team observed. They didn't attempt to decipher the ancient symbols or understand the underlying principles. Instead, they tracked energy flows, identified patterns, and mapped relationships between different systems. "It's like a living thing," Lena observed on the 3rd day. "The systems aren't just connected. They respond to each other." Jack nodded. "And like any living thing, it's trying to heal itself. But something's blocking it." On the 4th day, with the sky now an alarming orange, Jack's team began implementing their solution. They didn't try to repair the ancient technology directly. Instead, they built an interface system, a bridge between old and new. "The atmospheric regulators are trying to pull certain elements from the planet's core," Jack explained to Governor Xen. "Something's blocking that process. We're creating a bypass that will extract those elements through a different pathway." The solution was a bizarre combination of parts: human water pumps, Proximan energy converters, Telosian quantum filters, and even components from their own ship's life support system. Nothing about it was elegant or theoretically sound, but it worked. When they activated the system on the 5th day, the ancient spires pulsed brighter. The yellowish tinge began to fade from the sky. "I don't understand," Engineer Vex admitted, watching their readings. "You've connected systems that shouldn't be compatible. You've violated half a dozen theoretical principles." Jack shrugged. "Theory is great, but results matter more. We didn't need to understand how the ancestors built it. We just needed to understand what it was trying to do and help it do that." As the atmosphere cleared, Kelva's citizens gathered outside the complex, cheering the human repair team. Governor Xen approached Jack with a formal bow. "Your solution won't last forever," Jack warned him. "It's a patch, not a permanent fix." "A patch that saved 20,000 lives," Xen replied. "You've given us time to develop a permanent solution or evacuate if necessary. My people will never forget what humans have done here." As Jack's team prepared to depart, Engineer Vex stopped him. "How did you know it would work?" "Your approach defied all established principles." Jack smiled. "That's the human way. We don't always know it will work. We just try, adjust, and try again until it does." 5 years after Jack Reynolds established his first repair station, he stood in the observation deck of what had become Reynolds' Interstellar Repair Network. The original asteroid base had grown into a massive complex with 12 major docking bays, each large enough to accommodate the biggest vessels in the galaxy. Below him, ships from 100 different worlds waited their turn for human attention. Some needed critical repairs. Others simply wanted the efficiency upgrades that only humans seemed capable of providing. "Quite a view," said Marcus, joining him at the window. "Remember when we were just trying to keep the lights on and hoping for enough business to pay our loans?" Jack smiled. "Never imagined it would come to this." The station's communication system chimed. "Director Reynolds, the Galactic Council representatives have arrived for the ceremony. Today marked the official recognition of Earth as the Galactic Repair and Innovation Center, a designation that brought with it significant political influence and economic benefits. Not bad for the species that had been the last to achieve interstellar travel." "Should we head down?" Marcus asked. Jack nodded, taking one last look at the fleet of waiting ships. "Let's not keep the galaxy waiting." The main hangar had been transformed for the ceremony. Representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations stood in their formal attire. At the center was Admiral Thrix, now Supreme Commander of the Galactic Alliance Fleet, and Professor Lin, the xenobiologist who had first recognized the unique value of human problem-solving. As Jack entered, the assembled dignitaries turned to him. Many of them had once dismissed humans as primitive newcomers to interstellar society. Now they stood in a facility built by those same humans, seeking their expertise. Admiral Thrix stepped forward. "Director Reynolds, 5 years ago I brought my damaged flagship to your small station against the advice of my engineers. Today, not a single Alliance vessel leaves port without scheduling maintenance at a human repair facility." He gestured to the gathering. "What began as emergency repairs has evolved into something more profound. Humanity has found its place among the stars not as conquerors or traitors, but as the fixers of broken things." Professor Lin approached the podium. "The galaxy has always had specialists. The Proxima Coalition builds the most advanced AI. The Crystalline Confederation creates the most efficient energy systems. The Hivefish design the fastest ships. But humans can take all these specialized technologies and make them work together in ways their creators never imagined." She activated a holographic display showing human repair stations that had opened across the galaxy. In just 5 years, human repair expertise has spread to every major sector. Over 2,000 human technicians now work throughout galactic space, commanding premium rates for their unique abilities. Jack listened, remembering how it all began, with a damaged Voldarian cruiser and his simple belief that he could fix it. He hadn't understood the alien technology, but he'd understood enough about how things worked to figure it out. When it was his turn to speak, Jack kept it simple. Humans have always been fixers. Throughout our history, we've had to adapt, to work with what we had, to find solutions with limited resources. We never had the luxury of starting fresh. We always had to build on what came before, patching and improving as we went. He looked around at the assembled aliens. In a galaxy of specialized evolution, our greatest strength turned out to be our unspecialized minds. We don't see proximate technology or high-fish engineering or ancestor relics. We just see things that need fixing. After the ceremony, Jack returned to the observation deck. A new ship was docking, a design he'd never seen before, its hull patterned with intricate symbols that marked it as coming from beyond known space. Marcus joined him, looking at the mysterious vessel. "Think we can fix whatever they need?" Jack smiled. "We probably don't understand a single thing about their technology, but we'll figure it out. That's what humans do." As he watched repair crews move toward the alien ship, Jack reflected that humans may have been the last species to reach the stars, but they'd found a way to make themselves essential. In a universe of incredible technological diversity, humanity's greatest contribution wasn't a specific invention or discovery, but their unique way of looking at problems, seeing not just what things were, but what they could become. The galaxy had specialized experts in everything imaginable, but only humans could look at any broken thing and say with confidence, "We can fix that."